Hi, and welcome to Meet the Mayor. This is Larry Petraccaro here with Mayor Frank McGehee, and we're pleased tonight to have as our guest Tracey Woods, who is the head of the Green Team. Now, you may be asking yourself, what is the Green Team? Because that's exactly what I'm going to ask Tracey. So, Tracey, what is the Green Team?
The Green Team is an advisory committee of the Township Committee of Maplewood, and it's a volunteer group that is made up of all residents of the Maplewood are welcome to join. And we work on environmental projects like EVs. We're the people who host the biannual Green Day Festival.
Maybe you could explain the biannual Green Day Festival.
Yeah. So every other year in Maplewood, we have a festival that is an opportunity for vendors who have green products and nonprofits that support green causes, and of course resident committees and groups to come together and talk about sustainability in Maplewood and all the ways that we can make our community and our houses and private lives more sustainable. And it has been a pretty successful festival as green fairs in the state of New Jersey go. We get a pretty big turnout and have a pretty good festival every other year.
You know, Larry, Tracey, you know, in our municipality, it's really the people that make it go. Mm-hmm. And I've known Tracey now for, I think, about 8 years. And she is one of our residents that really makes our town go. And, you know, she's been having her pulse on all things sustainability and has led our green team really to be one of the best green teams in all of New Jersey. And you look at some of the initiatives that we've already passed, you know, in the last 5 years, you know, plastic bags, you know, getting rid of plastic utensils, and there's a plethora of other things that Tracey's leadership has helped make us really a sustainable community. And I won't take any of her fire, but our committees are very important. Tracey, go ahead and.
Oh, well, thanks for saying that. But really here in Maplewood, it's like an embarrassment of riches with the number of people that we have that work so hard on our sustainability stuff. We have Fred Perfetta, who is one of the founders of the Green Team, that really helped the notion of green teams get started in New Jersey. And of course, the members of the Township Committee, like Nancy Adams and Victor Luca and yourself. And also the volunteers, Virginia Lamb Falconer that we were just talking about, and Vita Truesdale, mm-hmm. and so many people that have been around all these years. The Green Team, I think we're in our 12th year now. Christy Ranieri's
yes.
been around for 12 years, Bill Steinbrenn,
yes.
and so many people have really been a part of this committee for a long time. So it's been a great joint effort.
Now, do you have you've used a couple of terms that I think most of us probably think we know what they mean, but you know, sometimes I'm not sure it's quite clear. You know, it's like you kind of get something in your mind, you don't change. You've used two terms. One is green, and the other is sustainability. And is there and you also mentioned that there are green teams throughout the state. So, what qualifies as green? You know, in that regard, and the other thing is that I'd like you to touch on is sustainability, because that strikes me as really, really important, because mm-hmm. you're getting started on something that you can't continue. I mean,
well, you know, it's funny because the word sustainable has, you know, its traditional meaning of something that can keep going, mm-hmm. and then it's taken on this other meaning, which means things that are environmentally sustainable, that we need to act in a way that will sustain the lifestyle that we're all used to. Mm-hmm. You know, the weather that we're used to, and the ability to have the food and shelter that we're used to. Not necessarily all of the gadgets and electricity operating things that we're used to. Maybe we need to do a little less of that. But to live a lifestyle that can sustain our health and wellness into the future. Okay,
so that's a definition of sustainability that I had, guess, not really been aware of. It's a nuance, it's whatever you want to call it, but yeah. And what about green? How do you?
I would say green has just kind of become a pet word for sustainly. You know, that that it's the color, the signature color of sustainability is green.
The trees are green, Larry. You're always blue, right?
Well, yeah. What are some of the things? I know that you're missing the beginning of a meeting because you were kind enough to do this with us, but what was, maybe just tell us, what happens in a meeting? What was tonight's meeting going to be about?
Well, there's several things that we're working on. We are doing some research into water filling stations for township buildings. This would be a opportunity for events that are held in township buildings to not have to bring in bottled water, but instead have filtered water available at the events for the participants to use. One of the recent Columbia graduates that is participating in the Green Team was doing some research also on a portable water station, which could be taken to fairs and festivals in town that would keep them from having to use water bottles. Things like 5K events. Can you imagine how many water bottles could be saved?
Yeah.
If there was a portable filling station, you know?
Yeah, and the portable filling station, would it have to have, it could be just like a tanker truck, I suppose, is that right? Or
Well,
it
this
something
is,
different?
it's kind of an on-demand filter. It almost looks like a water fountain, but it's got a filter that it just takes the water from the fire hydrant and filters it for.
Okay, so you have access immediately to the whole town supply.
Larry, when you think about our initiatives, like, we're trying to be way ahead of the curve. You know, the day-to-day activities you have, when you look at things that are non-sustainable or non-environmental, we look at ways to pick those things apart. You know, plastic bags was a great example. Now, that's now kind of across the country and even the world. Actually, I was in Hong Kong 12 years ago, and I remember needing a plastic bag, and the person said, that'll be 10 cents. And that was 10 years ago, 11 years ago, so a long time ago. So we're kind of behind the curve on some things, but I think our community, our municipality is really on the forefront of all things sustainable. We've been that way for some time, you know, in terms of ways you can mow your lawns, in terms of, composting, other things that not all 565 municipalities in New Jersey have. And and Tracy's right. I mean, it's really, I looked at Tracy, I do think that she is definitely a pillar of our sustainability in Maplewood, but it is a village. A lot of people, Fred Perfetta, former mayor, he was a big part of the sustainability in green. And also, end of the year, actually around next week, there are awards that are given, to towns for their efforts. And so there's day-to-day operations or activities that we try to focus on trying to reimagine them to make them more green. And then there are big picture items like EV charging stations and things like that as well.
You should tell them what else is going to be featured at the League of Municipalities Expo.
Tracy, yeah. So we're proud that we will have the first. It's a Mustang. It's a police vehicle. And it'll be the first. It'll be the first in our state.
It's fully
amazing.
electric.
It's
so
all
it's a
electric.
plug-in vehicle.
And it's pretty. Yeah, it'll be down at the league, which was the League of Municipalities conference, which is next week, which is the week of November 15th. Timestamp that.
Well, do we hope to transition the entire police fleet to electric vehicles, or are there practical reasons that it can't be done?
Not just the police fleet. I think all of our vehicles. I mean that's the roadmap. Now, we
Right.
won't get there, in the very near future because there's a supply and demand issue. There's obviously cost related, but we're taking these steps. As we look at vehicles coming offline, and Tracy knows this very well. Is there a way we could replace it with a hybrid or electric vehicle? I remember we had a hybrid auto show. Remember that? That was awesome.
Yeah.
And we had Teslas and Fords, all type of hybrids and electric vehicles come, and it was awesome. And that's where we want to go, and it's just got to get there.
One of the projects that the Green Team is doing it's actually a township project that the Green Team is supporting, is that the township is working on getting the parking lot behind Town Hall electrified, set up with electric charging stations at quite a few of the spots, which will provide electric vehicle charging not only for fleet vehicles but also workplace charging for the people that work in Town Hall. And so that's a major step toward, meeting that goal as well.
Yeah, it's a big deal. I mean, I should give a shout out to our partners at Audi dealership here, Maplewood, Melbourne Audi. They've done a great job of working with us and have helped us in this process as well. And, they understand our direction for sustainability. And
Yeah,
right
they
there with us.
donated Maplewood, that charging, EV
Yes.
charging unit in the parking lot of the Woodland was
yes.
donated by Audi.
Yeah, so 2 so far.
Well, how many charging stations do you think you would, when you look at the number of vehicles and the usage and so forth, I mean, does that help you come up with you need 20 charging stations or 200 charging stations?
Well, it's infrastructure. I think we need
that's
as many
right,
as possible. I
infrastructure.
think we need more than, we need to have a supply, as we know that, the supply of those cars inventory will increase. So it's almost like we don't want to be behind the curve and have only 2 EV charging stations and then all of a sudden need more. If we can put in as many as we can, as long as we can afford them, we'll do that. So that as the cars come, we'll have that infrastructure there.
Well, you know, another thing that's going to be really important, the most important EV charging, is where people live. Because nobody's going to buy an electric vehicle if they don't have a place to plug it in at home. And one of the Green Team projects that we've been working, preparing to launch is a project to help multi-family buildings in Maplewood learn about the incentives that are available, both from PSEG and from the state, for putting electric vehicle charging in their facilities, for their tenants.
Yeah.
And what about, will you eventually extrapolate that to helping homeowners? I mean, or do you expect them to do that on their own, or?
Oh, yeah, no, we've been doing outreach for electric vehicle charging for homeowners for a while. The multifamily component is an add-on to our existing outreach project.
Yeah, because especially in an area like we live in, I think electric vehicles would make so much sense. I mean,
Yeah.
New Jersey isn't like the size of Wyoming, right? So you don't, if you get lost, you'll eventually run into water. Can't go forever.
Yeah.
But what about, we were talking a little bit before about what individuals can do with their homes. We're talking about recycling.
Yes.
And, I hear mixed things about it. I think it's the right thing to do, but I don't know if it's always done effectively. And what can we do as homeowners or just as people, as citizens of town, to aid in that? And is the township committee thinking of perhaps changing the way recycling is collected or put out or anything like that?
I mean, Larry, we're definitely looking at reimagining that process, right? It's something where there's many attributes and opportunities. One, there's a cost savings potentially there. 2, an environmental opportunity there. And then 3, also, I think quality of life. And so, we have a program that we're working with an organization called Zero Waste to really look at ways where we can do things where we can maybe change our recycling program, where we could also maybe take even our trash program and bring it in-house. And I use quotes because we're not looking to be in the business per se, but we're looking to a way to manage to make it more efficient. So yeah, we're looking at it. In other states, you have, you separate certain ways. You have automated trash, during days paper and other days are glasses and bottles.
Right.
We're looking at all of that. What we know right now is that our community has adopted to recycling and has done a pretty good job, on the Mondays and Sunday mornings. But, we can always enhance, continuous improvement. So we're looking at that.
Yeah.
You should talk about the composting pilot.
Yeah, definitely. So talk about recycling in a good way.
Yeah.
We have a pilot that's located in our municipality. We're starting off slow. I think it's 30 or 50 spots. Correct me if I'm
I
wrong.
think it's like 50.
Okay. And so we have 50 families or households who set up now where they have a location where they can go and bring, disposable from fruits and vegetables and other materials and make compost, right? And that's a great thing because you can use it for what? For your gardens. And there's so many gardens, by the way, in Maplewood. Not just the ones behind Town Hall or ones by the pool. Everybody has a garden. And it's great because, we benefit from our block having 4 gardens. So need a tomato? No problem.
Well, I like tomatoes, but we're going to have to pause for a minute. So if you stay with us, we'll be right back.
It's an onion.
Hi, and welcome back to Meet the Mayor. This is Larry Petraccaro with Frank McGehee and Tracey Woods. And we've been talking about the Green Team. Tracey is head of the Green Team here in Maplewood and doing quite a job. While we were on the break, we were talking a little bit about things, and Tracey mentioned something that we want to get a little more into, and that's energy aggregation. So perhaps you could fill us in on that.
Sure. So for those of you who aren't familiar, Maplewood is one of the participating communities in a renewable energy aggregation program. And what that is it's when the municipality takes over the supply of electricity and commissions a third-party vendor to provide a certain percentage of renewable above what's required by law. And Maplewood is participating with 6 other townships in the state's largest energy aggregation program. In the the contract round that we're in now, the renewable supply is almost double what's required by law. And this is available to every resident of Maplewood that doesn't either already have solar on their roof or doesn't have their own third-party supplier. And the cool thing about it is that it comes at a price savings. In this particular round, it's just about flush with what it is from if we were using PSEG's supply. So it's the savings are pretty minor, but it is a slight savings, which is, it's always nice when sustainability also gives savings. And if people aren't interested in being part of the program, they can opt out at free for any time. So it's a nice way to, increase the amount of renewable energy.
Yeah, Larry. It's cleaner, greener, and there's cost, savings. It's a winning scenario.
Yeah, it sounds like, you can't lose. I get these things in the mail from different places, but I was always kind of suspicious of that. I felt more comfortable when Maplewood was involved.
I'm so glad that you brought that up because
Okay.
third-party vendors don't have a good reputation, and there's a reason for it. There's been a lot of issues where the terms of the contract that were promised at the beginning of the contract get changed, and all of a sudden people are paying super high bills. And the thing to know about government energy aggregation, which is what this is that this is all being negotiated with layers of protection from the state and the Board of Public Utilities and the municipal attorneys, and everybody's looking at it. And not only that, but our combined purchasing power of the 7 municipalities working together on behalf of their residents means that we can secure pricing and renewable content that no individual in the individual market could secure for their household.
That's a big point, Larry, that Tracy's making, because with all these municipalities forming together into, like I was called, a regional municipality, it gives us breadth, it gives us buying power, frankly. And one of the biggest challenges of living in the state of New Jersey, if you're talking about any type of service, is that there are 565 municipalities.
Yeah.
And there's probably a few too many. And since we're so bifurcated across the whole, where we have repeating of services, fire, police, so forth, and obviously this is an opportunity where it's a win. It's a win for our community because they're getting that cheaper, cleaner, greener energy.
So how do you get into this?
So the cool thing about government energy aggregation is that all the residents that don't have solar on their roof or don't already have a third-party supplier are included unless they opt out. So unless you opted out, you're already in. And if you aren't paying real close attention, you may not have noticed. Yeah. It's a pretty subtle change if you're not,
Well, the bill still comes from PSE&G, right?
The bill still comes from PSEG, and this only affects the supply portion of the contract. So all of the delivery, which includes like the storm response and the wires and the maintenance, is all still done by PSEG. So it doesn't affect the way that if a hurricane came, we would be treated or anything like that.
Okay, well, no, that's not, well, I'm glad I'm in it now, now that you've informed me about it. You did mention solar. Is that something that you try to push as well, or are there pluses and minuses to that?
Well, solar is a great option for people who have roofs that don't have trees, for houses that are good candidates for it. In a lot of Maplewood, we have our great tree canopy, so there's, many houses that aren't eligible for it. But where it is available, we have we've partnered with Energy Sage, which is a organization that has a solar marketplace. So if you're interested in getting quotes, what they do, you put in your address and it uses like satellite imaging to put it through a set of vendors that have been approved by the Department of Energy, give quotes on your house, and you just can see apples to apples comparisons right on the website. One of the things that's really cool about that particular program is, I don't know how much you know about solar, but you know how they always talk about, should I lease my roof to the company or should I buy the panels outright? Which one's going to be better for me in the long run? This website has an apples to apples comparison. So just for example, I live in the Hilton neighborhood, so you can sort of imagine what size my house is. If I was going to do a PPA, which is the leasing option, it would cost nothing to get, the panels on my roof, but then I would only make about $12,000 over the 20-year life of the panels. If I pay outright for them, it would cost about $20,000, and I'd get a loan for that. But over the life of the panels, I would make $40,000. So depending on my economic situation, I can make a choice about which one's better for me. But the cool thing about that program is it shows you that comparison directly, and you don't have to wonder which one's better for you.
Yeah, that, we've kind of resisted getting solar panels. I don't know if we're a good candidate for it or not, but, first of all, you have to face the sun.
Right.
I
I
guess.
mean, that's changing a little bit. They're not, solar panels are not as dependent on a southern-facing, aspect anymore. But of course, having a south-facing roof that's free of trees and shade is, the most advantageous.
But it kind of illustrates to me how comprehensively you're looking at all ways to save energy and to, provide sustainability and so forth. As individuals, are there any tips as to how we maybe could be part of this sustainability and be greener at home? I mean, should we buy things in glass? That always seemed to me makes sense, but they're so fragile. Plastic is too convenient, but.
Well, I think there's a couple things you touched on. It's the touch points in your home or in your day-to-day life, and how you can make tweaks here and there to be more sustainable. So you're right. If you can theoretically buy something in glass versus plastic, then that's environmentally friendly. Now, upstream, you don't control, the manufacturers or producers who put the products that you may prefer in the containers they do. I mean, they're looking at their margins, and obviously it's cheaper to mass produce in plastic versus glass. So they're looking at margins, and that's a bigger fight for bigger level of government.
Bob McCoy, who is the longtime chair of the Environmental Advisory Committee, always says that the best electricity is the the energy that you don't use. And that having a focus on energy efficiency in our homes is really important. 100%. The Green Team and the Township and the Environmental Advisory Committee are working to start a new energy efficiency program. But one of the existing projects that the Green Team has partnered with other Essex County communities, and we got a grant from Sustainable Jersey to fund this, is a outreach program for a state-run program called Comfort Partners.
Okay.
And Comfort Partners is an energy efficiency program for low-income residents. It's really cool because what they do is the resident applies for the program, and there's no citizenship requirement, and there's also, you don't need to own the property. It's one of the only incentive programs that's open to renters. So you call and they verify that you are in their income category, and then they come in and make energy efficiency changes to your house for free. So seniors can really benefit from this program, low-income residents. You can get things like refrigerators, air conditioners, they'll seal up drafts in the house, and all of it is free to the resident.
What are some of the things, you just mentioned a couple of things, sealing up leaks and more energy efficient appliances. Are there other things besides that people who perhaps won't qualify for this program, but might be interested in doing something, some simple things around the home?
Yeah, the utility, PSEG, has incentives for doing different kinds of work in your house. I would say anytime you're looking at a major appliance or piece of your heating and cooling systems that needs to be replaced, consider a more sustainable option. And there's a lot of funding right now to help residents to make those choices. It can, it's easy to just replace like with like, but if you take a little bit of time to do some investigation, about the incentives that are available. You can maybe upgrade to a greener technology. Technology like heat pumps that have air conditioning and heating built into them that can be put into our steam houses aside the steam boiler systems. You know, that on all but the coolest days of the year, they can help provide heat to the house, and that's a very sustainable technology.
And Larry, I mean, even to make it even more simple for you, because you're in your question, like the light bulbs you buy.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, seriously, like this basic purchases that you make, putting a water filter, on your faucet instead of buying those big Poland Spring or big jugs.
Yeah, yeah.
That's sustainable action. So it doesn't take a lot, to push that footprint in the right direction. Basic things in your household.
Let me ask you, on some industries or some places that they're actually trying to build the disposal cost into the hardware and things of that nature. Have you, from your perspective, have you seen a movement where maybe things will be priced so that, like, plastic might suddenly become more expensive than glass because they have to build in the disposal cost of getting rid of the plastic? Have you seen anything like that happen?
I've seen some of that around pieces of technology like laptops and computers. They call it like the end of life.
Yes,
kind of-
yes.
Yeah, and you sort of pay something so that for the disposal at the end, because they have the minerals and stuff that need to be salvaged, to sustainably dispose of those type of objects.
Well, Frank mentioned light bulbs, and I would imagine from an electricity usage point of view, that must be a tremendous savings, is it? Or
Yeah, I mean, if you have the right type of, say, LED or light bulbs you're using, that's going to save your money. And kind of like what Tracy's talking about with solar panels, right? Depending on which way you go, there's a long-term and short-term savings. But in the end of the day, either way, there's a savings.
yeah,
Right?
Yeah.
And, and that's a factor that you think about, in terms of your lifestyle and your quality of life.
Yeah, I love what we've talked about in terms of green and sustainability, because that strikes me as so important. And I imagine, and a town like Maplewood probably might be a little ahead of the curve than elsewhere, I would think, because I think it's kind of easy to understand. I think we might have the right type of citizenry, if you will, that would be concerned about this. So if we got citizenry out there that's watching, how can they get involved with the green team?
There's a meeting happening right now. I'm actually, as soon as we wrap up here, I'm going to run and go to the meeting. And other members are leading it in my absence. So of course, the green team members are open to all, green team meetings are open to all Maplewood residents. And of course, this April is going to be our Green Day Festival.
That's right.
So, when you hear that that's been announced and everything, we ask you to please, put that on your calendar and come out and support.
Yes. And Larry, I want to thank Tracy for coming.
Yes.
As a liaison to the Green Team, I know she really loves to run our meetings, but I thought it was important for our public to hear about the sustainability that we do in our community.
Yeah, no, it's great. And if somebody wants to get involved now, they should just try to find the meeting, call Town Hall, or
Yeah, absolutely.
for
And
the
there's
green
there's a Facebook page, Maplewood is Green, and maplewoodisgreen.org is our website where we put announcements up to.
MaplewoodisGreen.org.
maplewoodisgreen.org. Tracy, thank you. Frank, thank you. And
Always.
thank you for joining us on Meet the Mayor.